Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel on a very, very special day as Chelsea, for the first time in 7 years, are part of the UEFA Champions League quarter-final draw. And that's what we're going to react to today. I'm extremely excited for it. And even more excited I am because I'm joined by two very, very special guests. First of all, you might remember, Mr. Euro expert, Alex, has joined us again. I mean, it's the European Cup. Who better to get on than the Euro expert? Bro, how are you?
I'm doing good, thank you very much. Just as a pre-warning, there's some power problems in my area. So if I suddenly go away for about a minute, you know why. But hopefully we stay for the whole stream and we give some good analysis.
Exactly. Alex also lives on the other side of the moon, so that's why he has power problems. And we're also joined by Matt, as you might have seen him before, as he was on one stream before. My graphics guy, you know, the dude that does all the cool things and the thumbnails and everything. That's him. So, Matt, hello. Good to see you again. And are we excited for the draw?
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. And yeah, well, I don't think there's going to be an easy draw, but looking forward to it. And don't think any team's going to be easy.
For sure. No, there's no real easy teams. Hey, if you're in the last 8 of the Champions League, as much as people think of Porto, it's just Porto. Well, they still knocked Juve out. Okay, Juve this season are a bit of a different animal to what we've been used to over the last decade or so. But still, it's going to be tricky. Just to inform you guys, in case you don't know, Alex, Euro expert, doesn't actually support Chelsea. He has a small affiliation to it, but he's actually neutral. But again, arguably makes the let's say draw reaction even more interesting because he actually cares about other things than just Chelsea, if that makes sense. So, you know, that's what I'm thinking. But yeah, obviously there's a lot to think about. There's a lot to talk about. Because obviously, like I said, Chelsea are part of the last 8. We're to be drawn against one of these 7 teams. Obviously the Chelsea badge is there, right? Bayern Munich, Manchester City, PSG, Dortmund, Liverpool, Porto, or Real Madrid. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be very interesting. Of course, the draw should start at 11 a.m. UK time in about 10 minutes' time. Well, whether they will actually start then or not is a whole different debate. Let's see how much waffling they do this time now because they love a good waffle. They really do. But let me go with you first, Alex. What do you make of all the 7 teams? Because obviously, especially after Chelsea knocking out Atletico Madrid in the end, pretty comfortably, let's be honest with ourselves, other than maybe that penalty claim with Azpilicueta and Carrasco, it was very comfortable over the 2 legs. I mean, they just look like Burnley, quite frankly. And to make the best team in Spain at this moment in time, at least, look like Burnley, well, you kind of at least got to be considered as one of the contenders. I'm not saying we're favourites, not by any means, but I think we should be considered as contenders now. We haven't lost in 13 games. We've conceded 2 goals in 13 games. Only one opponent has scored a bloody goal against us. So, you know, how do you win titles? Well, that's by not conceding goals. It's pointless if you draw every game bloody 6-5, lose every game 6-5, doesn't matter. But if you nick every game 1-0, it's going to win you a title. So that is a positive. But what do you make of all of the teams and what do you make of Chelsea's chances?
I'm going to be quite encouraging to you and your audience. I actually think Chelsea have probably got one of the best chances in the competition because, as you touched on a neutral, I actually watch pretty much all of these teams quite regularly. PSG, I personally don't think are getting past the quarterfinals. They're not cut out for it this year. Liverpool, literally, we have no idea. City are probably the best team in the competition, but their UCL hangover can cause them issues, as we've seen with PSG when they put together good teams. Put it over. And I could go through the rest of them, but it boils down to Tuchel. I genuinely think Tuchel, besides Guardiola, is probably the best coach in the world right now. And that's not just reactionary of Chelsea, because as we well know, as me and you first met, I was the one banging the door for him when he moved to Chelsea from PSG, because he proved himself to be genuinely an incredible coach. And now he's proven that at Chelsea, and at least on current form as well. I think Pep Guardiola is the only other coach in this competition who's doing as good as him. You know, Dortmund in the final 8, they're very inconsistent, and they've got a novice appointed. Pochettino, of course, has got a high reputation, but he's failing with PSG at the moment. If you look at Ligue 1, he keeps coming out with some silly results. Bayern Munich as well is another team that I think I will not to waffle, and I think a lot of teams will be scared of facing, but I mean, to put it in the Bayern fans' words, Bayern Fan TV, if anyone watches him, His verdict is that you can Bayern will outscore anyone, but they are a complete mess at the back. So genuinely, I think Chelsea should come into this with very high expectations. I don't think there's a team they could face in this draw that would be truly very worrying.
Yeah, it's tough because you can certainly put it that way, and we stand a chance against anybody. I think that's very fair to say. But obviously, Bayern Munich, like our squad, yes, we've won the Champions League in 2012, but we are not used to playing on this level of competition with this pressure, with this build-up and everything of Champions League quarterfinals. None of our players is, other than Thiago Silva. Like, I don't think, well, Azpilicueta obviously played that semi-final back then, although I'm not even sure whether he actually played, probably though, at left back, presumably, because it was Jose as manager. But none of them are used to it. Bayern Munich just won it last year. You make a fair point on Man City, but Man City are just really good. So Man City is, depending on their injuries, that's just really hard to beat for anybody. It's a tricky one. Matt, what about you? Before we get into who we'd like to be drawn against and everything, what about you? What are you feeling ahead of the draw?
Yeah, it's a very 50-50 chance of every team for Chelsea, really. We've got a great clean sheet record at the moment, but as you progress through the competition, the team's attacks are going to get stronger and stronger. It's going to be hard to keep the likes of Bayern out through both legs. But yeah, I think we have a perfect chance. It's just, I think it's all down to whether we can have our attackers turn up on the day. I think we've fixed our defensive problems. I mean, there's always a mistake, but that's with any team. But yeah, as long as we have our attack sort of turn up on the day, I think we've got nothing to worry about.
It's true. I mean, Flyer said it here in the chat. By the way, everyone watching right now, big up yourselves. Make sure you get subscribed. That'd be sick. Smash that like button. But yeah, Flyer saying even if we got Bayern, we could argue that we could win. It is a good possibility, right? I mean, yeah, like we just touched on, there is certainly a chance against anybody. But Matt, in terms of an order of who you'd like to play, which is obviously a bit tough. Flyers gave us his order here. What would it be? Because obviously Porto, like I touched on already, they knocked out Juve, yes. But realistically, they're not at the level of the other 8 probably. I'm not saying all the other 8 on the same level, but I don't quite think that Porto are where, say, Bayern Munich are. Clearly, it's not the same type of opposition in terms of level. But what would be your sort of order in which of preference in who you'd like to be drawn against?
I mean, I agree with Fly's sort of order here. I mean, although personally, not that I'm saying that this is going to be the easiest team, but I wouldn't mind playing Real Madrid. I wouldn't mind netting a couple of goals past Courtois. I'm still holding a grudge against that. So that would,
100%. I see that. I see that. For me, Madrid is a weird one because I've always wanted to go to the Bernabeu.
Yeah,
and it would kind of trigger me because Chelsea have never played there. We've faced Real Madrid once or twice, but it was always in finals, so it was always in neutral venues. So if we would now be drawn against them when we can't go, that would trigger me a lot. That would trigger me a lot. So I wouldn't be the hugest fan of it. I won't lie to you. Where does it say info button here? I'm trying to get the stream up in the background, and I don't know why it says an info button. Anyways, regardless. Yeah, Real Madrid, it's weird because, yeah, that would just annoy me. And I have this weird kind of feeling. First of all, everyone's talking about it. I just have this little feeling that we'll be drawn against PSG just for the story. They sacked Tuchel Christmas Eve, blah, blah, blah. And I wouldn't even be so upset. That second leg against Barcelona, that was give the ball to Mbappe and inshallah. That's all they do. Man sat back, weren't even very good at sitting back. I mean, Barcelona could have scored about 7 if they knew how to finish a chance or a penalty for that matter. And all they did was give the ball to Mbappe and hope. And once it worked. But other than that, it was all a shambles. I mean, Barcelona's back 3 that day was bloody Firpo, De Jong, and who was the other guy? Longley. Those 3 are all awful. Especially, De Jong is a brilliant footballer, but not as a centre-back, right? And they played a high line without pressing, without counter-pressing against PSG. These men, Coleman is in the mud. Coleman is in the mud. So I think we've got PSG on toast personally. But that's why I wouldn't be totally against it. Also, I've said this yesterday on Twitter. One of probably my biggest unpopular footballing opinion is that Mauricio Pochettino is one of the most overrated managers in the world. That doesn't mean he's dreadful. When I say he's overrated, it doesn't mean he's bad. I'm just saying he's not anywhere near as good as everyone makes him out to be. Again, my personal opinion. People might disagree. But other than Real Madrid, other than Porto, other than PSG, what do you guys think about Dortmund? Obviously, you and me, Alex, have spoken about Dortmund a couple of times, but less so Dortmund in the current times. Dortmund is a weird one because you look at their squad, you look at especially the front line, the names, you're getting a bit worried. But then you look at their league position and the fact they're struggling to even make top 4 in the bloody Bundesliga, then you're like, well, should we even be worried about these? And bloody hell, they even almost bottled it against Sevilla late on in that round of 16.
I think with Dortmund, I mean, Matt was just talking about the order there and based off Flyers' thing as well. My order's probably Dortmund, City, PSG as the top 3 teams I'd want to face, because Dortmund, their only chance of going through, I think, I see Laurenz put on the face there. Dortmund's only chance of going through there is Haaland. Honestly, their attack is brilliant. They've got some of the best attackers in the world in Sancho and mainly Haaland. But the foundations of this team is incredibly weak. They're very inconsistent. It's not just against Sevilla. I mean, they played Bayern Munich recently, and for the first 25 minutes, they were blitzing them. They were 2-0 up, and they looked like they were going to win for the first time against Bayern Munich in 6 attempts. And then they ended up losing 3-2 just by defensive errors, giving up too much space inside their box. They've not got the individuals at the back that you should be worried about. In the same way they've got Haaland and Sancho up front. And yeah, Dortmund, I think, probably the favourable team to face. I actually wouldn't want to face Porto at all. I think they're horrible to play against. And
not a Burnley.
Yeah, and even though Juventus are clearly off the ball this season, they're not even like in the top 2 for Serie A. You don't want to play Porto at the moment because, as we saw against Dinamo Zagreb against Tottenham yesterday, once the plucky teams got momentum with them and got some belief inside them, then they can go. They can cause an upset, and yeah, I wouldn't.
Yeah, but now you're putting us on a level with Spurs. Come on, give us some respect.
Well, I think in the Champions League, at this point, it's a big portion of mentality that matters. I know that's an overplayed concept with pundits. Like, you hate to hear Steve McManaman watch Dinamo Zagreb out-tactic Mourinho and go, well, they had more belief, so they were just fantastic. No, it's obviously, like, what happens on the pitch matters still. But with City, they've had the best team, one of the best teams in the world for the past 3 seasons now, and they keep going out in the Champions League against the odds. Every year they've been the favourites. And a big portion of that's mentality. So I think Tuchel and Chelsea playing against City maybe earlier in the knockout rounds would work, because, I mean, and that's not just based off the idea that they might struggle with us, it's also the fact that 2 out of the last 3 times City have gone out has been to English opposition. You think Liverpool and Tottenham against the odds, and then Lyon as well, which was completely against the odds. So I think City are a vulnerable team that if you scare them early on, you can probably catch them cold. But of course, that is a bit of a risk because they've probably got one of the best attacks in world football right now and one of the best defences besides Chelsea's.
I mean, I see where you're coming from with the Porto thing. I definitely see it. But at the end of the day, I feel like over 2 legs, I know it happened against Juventus, but I feel like over 2 legs, if you just, as the favourite, play your cards right, you will beat the underdog. Obviously, there is certain situations where that doesn't quite happen. And like you said, belief, and especially once you get to the semi-finals, anything can happen. Chelsea proved that more than anything in 2012. I mean, we had bloody John Terry sent off when we still basically beat them at the Camp Nou. I mean, there is crazy things that happen. But I still feel like at the end of the day, I would just favour us against Porto. I'm not sure about the Man City one. I know they went out, but I wouldn't want to take that risk. Obviously, if it happens, it's not like it's our choice. But I wouldn't. If it was my choice, I wouldn't want to take that risk on banking on. Yeah, they always bottle it anyway. Because Man City seem a bit, to me, when I watch them, they seem a bit different this year. They, for once, they know how to actually defend very well. I mean, they don't concede goals. Like at all. And half the time, you don't even concede chances when I see them. And that's a bit different. Obviously, at times, teams just bottled it against them. Edison made great saves, last-ditch tackles by Walker or whatever. But now, they just have 70% of the ball every game and your opponent has like 2 shots. At least from the games I saw. And that's a bit different. Like Ruben Diaz gave them a different vibe at the back. Obviously, Laporte, for once, not being injured every single game. Obviously, and John Stones playing very well too. And City feel a bit different. I don't know. They just feel like we're just going to go and win every game that we come up against. By the way, the stream has started. The draw has started, but obviously it's UEFA. They're just giving it all the waffle in the background. But, this random dude, whatever he's called. But yeah, we will get to you when we actually start seeing balls being drawn from little pots.
Yeah, just on the City point as well, quickly. It's also not just an fact they bottle it, I guess, as well, because I like make sure I carefully phrase it. It's also the fact that Pep puts too much pressure on himself and he keeps doing really over the top tactics. Obviously, his mentality is nullify the opposition. And it wasn't just the fact that City got caught cold last year against Lyon, it's because he played a back five. So if it depends what he does. If he comes into the Champions League the same way he did again with Barcelona nearly 10 years ago, whereas I have to play 4-3-3 and I have to play the Barcelona way and I can't really deviate too much, then City will probably be a lot stronger. But if he starts going, well, we need to nullify Hazard-Odoi and we're going to stick Zinchenko at right back or something stupid, that's when City can be cool, I think.
Fair. That is fair. Big up Yusuf, by the way. I know you're not a member, but you have good reason, so fair play. If you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become a member, there's a join button underneath if you're on desktop, or there's a link in the description, and then you get this little like badge here. And by the way, the longer you are a member for, the badge changes, so you know I can properly give you appreciation. But like Melinda said, we're on the road to 10k. We're getting ever so close to 9k now. We're like 40 away, not even. So everyone that's new here right now, please be sure to subscribe. If you're not a Chelsea fan, which you might not be considering this is a Champions League draw, get subscribed anyway. You don't even have to watch every video and every stream. Just get subscribed. Do you know what I mean? We just have to do what we have to do. But ladies and gentlemen, we're getting ever closer. We're getting ever closer to what we're really, really here for. I want to talk about quickly who we'd least like to play. For me, it's still Bayern Munich. I know they struggle at the back, whether it's Süle, Alaba, Boateng, they're a bit all over the shop. They kind of rely on Neuer a lot. Even in the bloody Bundesliga, you know, they get hit on a break every bloody time. But again, like I said, they're experienced. They know what it takes to win shit. And our squad doesn't. I mean, our squad bloody bottled the FA Cup final against Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? I mean, plus the referee, fair enough, but still bottled it. Different manager, fair enough, but still, we bottled it. We're not used to winning things. Hopefully that will change this season, but we're not used to it. Bayern Munich, they won the bloody treble last year, and they don't have the opportunity of a quadruple. So they won every single trophy that was available to them, and then won the Super Cup as well, and then won the Club World Cup as well, and then won the German Super Cup too. 6 trophies. 6 trophies. Do you know what I mean? Like that is a madness. So I personally don't want to be drawn against them. As much as I think we could beat them, I don't need this stuff in the quarterfinals. Do you know what I mean? I don't need them in the quarterfinals yet. Do you get me? What about you, Matt? Is it Bayern that you'd least like to play, or who would it be for you?
It's got to be a tie between Bayern and Man City. I mean, although, like I said, Man City have not had the best track record in the Champions League, both those teams have the best squad depth, I think, out of all the teams. So even if they are doing, things aren't going so well, half time they can just bring another world-class player on, and then that changes the game completely. Whereas someone like Dortmund, they're a bit more unbalanced. There's not so many sort of big players they can bring onto the pitch rather than Bayern and Man City. So yeah, it's got to be one of those two.
I'm just going to quickly throw something in the mix with Bayern. Tuchel has played them the most times in his career, like more than any other team. He's played them 18 times.
Say that again.
Tuchel has played Bayern Munich the most times in his career. Like out of all the teams he's played, Bayern is the one he's played the most. And out of 18 times, he's won 5, drawn 2, lost 11. So, and it's probably one of the only unfavourable records in his in his whole catalogue of a career. So. Yeah, I think Bayern Munich probably still up there just because of their attack. But it's interesting to know. He probably knows them best. I mean, 18 matches against them, and that's all in the modern era. So he's going to know their players like Goretzka and players like that very well. So I think that'd be quite an interesting clash for him. But I think he did win the DFB Pokal against them with Dortmund. So that's also something.
Didn't he knock them out in the semis when he won it? I think so. I think he knocked them out in a crazy 4-1, 4-3, something like that game, 3-2 maybe. And then they beat someone else in the final, I think. I have a feeling that I remember that. Because I remember Dortmund smacking Bayern in the semi-finals, and I think that was the one on the Tuchel. Because they haven't won that many German Cups, and I think it must be that one. I've decided to actually watch the stream on my phone now, because on the computer it seemed to mess things up in the background. Regardless, so to get back to what you said, I mean, I would argue he probably knows PSG best, considering he was their manager until Christmas. But, in terms of playing against teams, Bayern Munich, I just feel records like that obviously slightly swayed. He played them with bloody Mainz, as much as he's a great manager. If you're Mainz against Bayern Munich, I mean, you're not going to win. Let's be honest. Obviously, they're off chance, but not on numerous games altogether. Do you see what I mean? And to some extent, it's similar with Dortmund as well. Obviously, Dortmund are always the second. I say always. People forget Dortmund were a big team in the late 90s, and they've been a big team since 2010. In between that, they were like, I don't know, it's a bit like Tottenham, you know, where they're just this random midfield team that are just a somewhat big name but don't actually do anything. And then the last 10, 20, 15 years, they've been good, and they won the Champions League, obviously, 1998, 1999, or 1997, somewhere around then. And when Matthias Sammer, one of their players, I think won the Ballon d'Or even, didn't he? So, you know, they had these moments, but in general, they're not this hugest team. So they're not this long-term, ever-gracing super rival of Bayern Munich at all. But obviously, you know, recent history dictates things more than others. So still, I won't be harsh on Tuchel. You haven't won enough games against Bayern Munich, hence why you don't stand a chance against them. But I definitely see your point. Yeah, exactly. Draw is in Nyon in Switzerland. That's just a fancy word of saying it's close to Geneva because it's just right next to it. You know, you make your words up, whatever you want, Switzerland. It's a weird place, I tell you. Spain. It cost you like 20 quid to get a chicken nuggets menu at Burger King. Are you mental? These men are crazy. Anyways, I went off record here. Regardless, it's weird. Like, obviously, I sit here in this stream and I kind of want to talk about so many different things, but I guess we should just probably, before they get into it and who they're interviewing right now, Hamid Altintop. If people don't remember, Turkish midfielder, right mid, I think. He has a brother, so I might mix them up. But Turkish midfielder, right mids, play for Bayern Munich. Good player. Back in the day, but you know, regardless, let's talk about the 8 teams. We've touched on a couple of them already. I say 7 teams. We know plenty about Chelsea. We touched on Bayern Munich a little bit. We touched on Man City a little bit. Touched on Dortmund a little bit. We touched on Porto a little bit. I think we should probably talk about Real Madrid a little bit more because Real Madrid is a weird. First of all, I want to mention it again. I think I said it yesterday already. Poor Eden Hazard. Have you guys seen the reports? If he might need surgery again, but if he gets surgery again, that might end his playing career. I'm like, you poor guy. Just come back, please. Give him like 80 grand, maybe 100 grand after that, be all right. Just like put him on the bench. I don't care. You know, just come back. You know, these Spanish doctors clearly have no clue what they're doing. So just come back and save yourself your career, please. The poor guy. The poor guy. But Real Madrid, essentially, they're Karim Benzema and Ramos if he's fit. A bit of Kroos, a bit of Modric, a bit of Casemiro, sure. I don't know whether Valverde will be back by the time the quarterfinals take place, but all they do really is a bit like Mbappe, a bit like PSG with give it to Mbappe and Inshallah. Real Madrid are kind of like give it to Benzema and Inshallah. That's all it is. Like every game, and I don't necessarily watch the games. I watch highlights and I have their live scores on my phone. I'm like, 88th minute, Benzema 1-1. 92nd minute, Benzema 2-1. I'm like, okay, Benzema won it again for them, as every week. What do you make of Real Madrid? Obviously, I'm not expecting you to watch them week in, week out, Matt, but what is your rough opinion of them? They are struggling a little bit. I know they won La Liga last year, but it's been a bit of a shambles for them, really.
Yeah, I wouldn't be like this. I think everyone's playing Real Madrid. This is the time to play them because I think they're in a bit of a decline at the moment. You know, a lot of the players are on sort of the wrong side of their careers. Like I said, they're sort of just relying on Benzema and people like Ramos who've been there for sort of like eternities. So yeah, I wouldn't be as concerned to play them as I don't know, maybe many other people would. You know, I think they're probably one of the easier teams to beat.
Yeah, I think you can definitely make that case. What about you, Alex? Do you back that thought that they're probably one of the easier teams to beat? Obviously, someone, CFC Frank said it here, we would lose to Real Madrid because they have so much experience. And yes, that shouldn't be underestimated. I mean, pretty much that entire squad has won 4 of the last 6 or 7 Champions League trophies. It's crazy. And I mean, they won 3 on the bounce, which is mental. I know they did that with Ronaldo, and Ronaldo ain't there anymore. But still, that is crazy. That is not something to underestimate. Like, they definitely won't get nervous. You know, our players will get nervous. Their players will not. Obviously, maybe if they drop a young one in there. But they're like usual star players on the pitch. They won't get nervous. So what do you make of Real Madrid? I'm not sure how much you follow them, but what have you made of them this season?
I'm a little more pessimistic, actually, for Real Madrid, rather, because what Zidane's effectively done since he returned last summer is summer before last, is made him more boring, which I know is like before they had Ronaldo and star players and they're scoring loads of goals and they'd have these high octane games. But he's made them actually quite a defensive side. And their attackers, you touched on Benzema, he is the clear goal threat. He's probably the only major goal threat. But you've still got Rodrigo and Vinicius. And I don't know if anyone caught, maybe some people in the comments watched Atalanta Real Madrid on Tuesday. Vinicius was he was an inch away from scoring one of the best goals I've ever seen, where he took on half the team from his own box and ran the whole way up the pitch and almost scored. And he just tapped it wide after beating so many people. But they've got talented players in the attack. But just their defence, I mean, this season, out of 27 games, they've conceded 22 goals, which is a strong record. And obviously, a lot of the best teams in the Champions League are going to have similar defensive records. But when you're Chelsea and you've got players who aren't in the best goal-scoring form at the moment, I mean, they're picking up. Timo Werner's picking up a little bit. Havertz is definitely picking up.
Ladies and gentlemen, the draw has happened. I kind of missed things. I do apologize. That's what happens when you don't have the sound on. First quarterfinal is already drawn. Man City against Dortmund. Now Porto has been drawn. This has happened much quicker than I thought. It's only quarter past. Fair play, UEFA. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, the semi-final is also being drawn today. So both is happening today, which is interesting, I guess. Porto against, come on, Chelsea. Come on, Hamid. Give me Chelsea now. Looks like Chelsea. Come on, Chelsea. That's got Porto.
Damn.
I know Alex said you don't want to play Porto now, but you got to take that. You got to take that.
Yeah.
And we've got the second leg at home as well. We've got a second leg at home as well. Well, I think anyway. Porto were drawn first. We were drawn second, so I presume we have the second leg at home. But, not over. I bloody take it. I tell you that much. But Bayern Munich have been drawn now. Come on. City are already out, as in out of the pot. I would have loved the City Bayern because then at least one of them's gone.
This will determine who plays each other on the semis as well, won't it?
Yeah, exactly. But first they draw all the quarters, won't they? Oh, Bayern PSG. Well, that'd be interesting. See it, PSG. Another one bites the dust, I guess. Let's see if they sack Pochettino come the summer or how long he gets. But all right, they're rattling through this today. I love this. Big fan. Real Madrid. Wait, who's even left?
Liverpool. And
Liverpool and Madrid.
Oh, Madrid, yeah.
Yeah, just these two. Yeah, Madrid, Liverpool. Yeah. Well, that'd be interesting too because they're both kind of shit these days. I say kinda, not fully. Do you know what I mean? Well, interesting. Very interesting draw. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you didn't know, I'm sure they'll just show me in just a second to rattle through everything. But Manchester City, Dortmund, Porto, Chelsea, PSG, Bayern Munich, or the other way around, and Real Madrid, Liverpool is the quarter-final draw. Very interesting. I'm very pleased. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Smash the bloody like button. Turn it from grey to blue. That's what we want. Even if you're going to leave in a second again, just smash the like button quickly and subscribe. Might as well. And if you want to support the channel, do drop a super chat because why the hell not? You might as well. You don't have to, but you might as well. Or become a member. There's obviously, that possibility. Some good games so far, 100%. Injury Madrid versus injury Pool. It's not wrong. We're playing FC Porto, guy. Yeah, I know that. Thanks for calling me a guy, though. What? Porto versus Chelsea. Yes, exactly. People seem to be excited. Man City do Nound. What? Was that meant to be Dortmund? Probably. We got Porto. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm happy. Semi-finals already being drawn as well. I thought they'd give it a go. Another waffle. All right. Calm down. Winner of quarterfinal 3. That's not us. We're quarterfinal 2. That's, I think, PSG Bayern is quarterfinal 3.
So PSG Bayern v.
Would I want to avoid that? Don't know. I guess in the semi-final you can't really avoid anybody, can you? Not us. Quarterfinal 1. So winner of Man City, Dortmund will play the winner of PSG Bayern. So Man City Bayern is a very likely semi-final.
Which means
Chelsea, we will play the winner of Real Madrid Liverpool.
It's a favourable route.
Bloody hell. See, I'll take that. Obviously, see the thing is, what you always need to consider with Champions League draws. Went out on March 19th. By the time these quarterfinals will be played, it will be the middle of April. By the time these semi-finals will be played, it will be late April, early May, middle of May, mind you. So form could change completely. Our form could drop off a cliff. Liverpool could get back to things. They won't continue losing every game they play at Anfield. Let's not kid ourselves. That will not continue all along. Some players will come back, obviously not Van Dijk, but the likes of Henderson might be back and whatever else. That will certainly bring them back a little bit. You see with Real Madrid as well, obviously Hazard won't be back, but they still have a lot of good players. And they might hit form a little bit more. So it's super, especially with the semi-finals, it's super tough to say, are we going to be in a good position to win this or not? Who the hell knows? It's 2 months away. It's a bit crazy to join this. Why did they join the final? Are they joining who's got the home right or what? Well, if we get to the final, we are the away team. Not that matters, really.
They're probably just spelling it out for the people who can't figure out.
Exactly. I mean, is there a single team that plays in blue? Left. Porto.
Yeah.
But we played them already.
Yeah.
So not a single team will actually change the color of a home kit. So this has no meaning at all.
So the final draw is the winner of the semi-final one will play winner of semi-final 2. That is eye-opening, to be fair. I'm glad they spelled that out.
Exactly. Obviously, they put it in a way that, who's the home round. I guess, actually, depending on what the global situation is with how it's currently been, the home team has always had the normal dressing room, while the away team has had to be in some closet. So, if that's still the case come May 29th in Istanbul, well, no, it's true. Did you see that where Chelsea got changed against Barnsley? It was a bloody wardrobe. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen. Looks like we didn't even get a shower or some shit. But if that's still the case, then I guess it's a small disadvantage if you don't have the fancy dressing room. But at the end of the day, if you lose the final because of the dressing room, then you probably shouldn't have been in the final in the first place. But come on, Matt, because you're the Chelsea fan here, what are you saying about that draw? Porto, next, if we get there, the winner of Real Madrid, Liverpool. Can't really ask for much more, can you?
I was just about to say the same. Can't ask for much more. I mean, compared to the other teams we're going to come up against, Man City, Bayern, I'll take it any day of the week.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I will say this, though. As much as I said this earlier that I kind of don't really want to play Real Madrid until we can't go to the away game. We've lost too many times against Liverpool in Champions League semi-finals. I know we beat them once. I think in 2008, didn't we play them, Matt? Before we obviously lost in Moscow, didn't we beat Liverpool in that semi-final?
Yeah, it was Lampard's penalty, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, after his mum passed away. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. True. So, okay, we have also beaten them. Well, we did also lose to them twice in the semi-final. So, I guess, maybe we even it out. So, maybe I'm not even that bothered. Would be interesting. But I know I shouldn't think of what if we lose, but it's less triggering if we lose to Real Madrid than if we lose to Liverpool. Because,
100%.
I mean, losing to an English club is always more annoying than losing to Real Madrid. Do you know what I mean? Well, how do you see that?
Yeah, no, you don't. Even Champions League, you're there to play all the other teams in Europe, which you don't play in. We play Liverpool already twice a season. You want to play all these other great teams out there. So that's annoying to start with when you draw an English team. But you've got to play them eventually if they get to the semi-finals and finals. But, Liverpool, you lose to them, you're just going to get tons of grief. And you don't want that, especially with a team like Liverpool.
Exactly. You'll hear Jurgen Klopp give the weirdest of interviews of all time. See, I used to like Jurgen Klopp. The guy's just a weirdo now. He says the weirdest things in interviews and press conferences and everything. He's a weirdo. Yeah. I don't know. But Alex, what do you make of the draw overall? First of all, Chelsea, and then the rest of the games as well.
Well, the Chelsea one, I said I wouldn't want to play Porto, but it's undoubtable Chelsea have got the favourable draw to play Porto, who are on paper the weakest team, and then Real Madrid or Liverpool, both still good teams, but injury hit, I think is the fair word to say. So I think for a Chelsea perspective, it's a very strong draw for them, and it backs up my ludicrous prediction the other day that some people called it Chelsea get to the Champions League final, although it does damage the other half of that, which was the funny side, which I said Chelsea will play Porto there. So obviously that's not happening, but Porto seem... It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. I think you touched on it well earlier. If Chelsea prepare well, they will play it. But if they kind of stroll into this, then they're going to get caught. The one interesting note for Porto now is they're going to be without Malang Sarr for this tie because he'll be.
No, they won't.
He won't?
Because back when we played Atletico Madrid and Courtois was on loan there in that semi-final in 2014, UEFA told us he has to be allowed to play. We tried to not get him to play, but he had to be allowed to play. So I presume alongside will be allowed to play as well.
I'll research it when to a different topic. But yeah, it's interesting to see. I mean, Pepe as well in his last Champions League, you played out of this world against Juventus. So it's going to be difficult.
That's true.
It's going to be difficult from a Chelsea perspective, but it's definitely probably the most winnable still, besides the Dortmund tie, I think. So that is interesting. For the rest of it now, though, it reminds me of England getting to the World Cup semi-final vibes, where you've got the favourable.
That's so true.
So
true. And we'll get no. We play Atletico Madrid already. It's not England.
Yeah,
just the quarters is a bit like England.
Yeah, but it's good. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think that I'm trying to think of what final matchup it could be. Then we've got PSG Bayern on the other side of it.
Well, clearly Chelsea in the final, obviously.
You mentioned about.
Have you not heard? We're winning the Champions League this year. Did you not know?
I have heard some things. But it's interesting. The Chelsea Liverpool semi-final. That's even more history. I mean, you said on the way to Moscow they play each other. 3 years prior, I believe, Mourinho's first season, they played each other in one of the most boring games.
2007, we played them as well, didn't we?
Possibly. It might have been then as well. When they got to the final and lost, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly. When they lost then to Milan, when it was a repeat. Didn't Matt, you might know. Did we play them in 2007 as well?
I'm struggling to remember now.
I think so. So someone tell us in the chat if Chelsea Liverpool was also the semi-final in 2007, like 05, 07 and 08, I feel like. Because you played them so much, it can't only have been twice. I'm pretty sure it was 3 times. And then we didn't make the semi-final. Well, we played Barca in the semis of 2009.
Your memory serves you correct. Chelsea played Liverpool and lost. I think they lost on penalties, and then Milan beat Liverpool in the final.
Yeah, cheers, Ancelotti for that. Couldn't have dealt with that again. But yeah, it's interesting. Sorry, keep going. Your point. Like, without joking, who do you actually believe will make that final?
Oh no, genuinely, I think it's probably going to be Chelsea. I think because they've got Jurgen Klopp's had such a hellfire season. I don't think he's the stability to get to this final. I just don't think he has the capability of coaching this season to get there. I think I think Chelsea are probably the team to get to the final, just based off Tuchel purely. And then on the other side of the draw, it's probably between City, maybe, but then they've got like Hoodoo, haven't they? I think Dortmund will go out. I think PSG will go out. So between City and Bayern. And I feel like really hard.
That would be a hell of a semi-final, you know.
Yeah, but for the fun of it, I'm going to call it City. So let's go a Chelsea City final, and that would be a blockbuster.
That really would be a blockbuster. Like, wow. Tuchel, Pep, obviously they're good friends. Tactically, bloody hell. For the story of it, it would be fun to play Bayern in the final, but also that just smells like revenge all over the shop. I know they obviously had it in the UEFA Super Cup the year after, obviously after we won the Europa League under Benitez. But I just, to be honest, I can't see us winning a Champions League final against Bayern Munich just because we beat them last time, if that makes sense. Or are you, Matt? Do you see where I come from with that?
Yeah. I mean, it was quite a tall order to come back from where we came from in 2012. So us do it again. You know, that's.
I think if Chelsea play Bayern though, I mean, it's a bit of a more side fun though. But I would like to call that the Lampard arc, whereas last season, and it's part of a comment I saw recently. So I think last season when Chelsea played Bayern and they lost, the comments were like, "This is the level we want to get to." And someone mentioned yesterday that if Chelsea had lost to Atletico Madrid, that's exactly the words he would have said. Whereas I think Tuchel's kind of proving Chelsea are probably at that level; they just haven't realised it yet. So I definitely think whatever happens in the Chelsea Bayern final, I think Chelsea would more than compete. It would be nothing like 2012. I think that'd be quite an even tie. And it's just a balance of, will Bayern Munich outscore you? Because they will concede. 100% they will concede. We've also got that Tuchel
redemption. Well, it depends on our finishing.
Yeah, but you've got that Tuchel redemption arc as well. We played Bayern last year in the final, and They did. PSG did come very close to winning that. They had a lot of 1-1 chances, which Neymar
and Mbappe just bottled it.
Yeah, so
Let's be honest.
like I said, Chelsea are genuinely probably one of the few teams. Well, probably the team here I wouldn't write off the most. I think they've got a very, very good chance.
Yeah. I mean, I think I don't want to get too ahead of myself, because I was in a position on December 5th where I was sat here saying, "Oh, we could win the Premier League." Well, 2.5 months later, Frank was sacked and we were 10th. Do you know what I mean? So, things swinging roundabout. Let's hope it doesn't happen like that again. But if the next 2 months go well, we could be in for a hell of a season. And by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if we beat Sheffield United on Sunday in the FA Cup quarterfinal, the weekend after playing the second leg of the quarterfinal in the Champions League, we will be playing the FA Cup semi-final. So fixtures not 100% kind to English teams because obviously Man City in the same position, and Liverpool, mind you. It's like I'm excited, but at the same time a little bit nervous. How do you feel, Matt? Do you think a bit like Alex? Do you think we could actually make this final, or do you think that's too early to call or whatever?
In terms of draw, I mean, we've probably got one of the easiest possible routes to the final. But obviously, no team can be underestimated. I mean, if you're not a fan, unless you sort of be a bit optimistic. So you can't rule it out. But I don't want to get too ahead of myself again. So I'm just take it one game at a time. I don't want to jinx anything.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously, like Alex said, we have to take Porto seriously. Well, we as fans, doesn't really matter. The team has to take them seriously. Just take them seriously. I'm pretty confident the bloody Tuchel will. But judging from our game so far, in the big games, we've always battered everybody. Not battered in terms of scoreline, but in terms of performance. And then when we didn't look so great, it was Leeds and Southampton. So, but then again, Porto definitely won't play like Leeds and Southampton. They will just sit back, let's be honest. I mean, maybe I'm misjudging them, but they did it against Juventus, and we're better than Juventus. So I would be very surprised if they didn't sit back. Obviously, they have some physical players. Alex mentioned Pepe. They have Marega up top. Who was the dude that got sent off against Juve? Is he an important player to them? I can't remember who it was.
It's the other striker, I believe. It was Taremi, and he got sent off for kicking the ball away.
What an idiot. Yeah, in the space of 2 minutes, he got both bookings as well. So obviously he's suspended for the first leg. We don't have any suspensions for the first leg, thankfully, which in hindsight, obviously now that we did get past Atletico Madrid, it was great that Mount and Jorginho already served their suspensions. Now they can't be suspended for a couple of games now. It's great. Obviously Kovacic is on a yellow, so if he does pick up a yellow card in the first leg, he might be suspended. I think Ziyech the same, but I think that's it. Actually, did we pick up a yellow card on this week against Atletico? Did anyone even get booked that is now on one away from getting suspended? I don't even know. It doesn't really matter now. Let's not deep dive into that much. We'll do a preview when the time comes, obviously.
And I'll join you for that.
Exactly. I don't know. Porto is like...
Do you know what I think it is? I think it's a redemption arc for the UK. It's a time they can finally beat Corona. I'll see if anyone gets that.
I love it. It's good. It's good. I mean, Portugal need to first beat it themselves. Do you know what I mean? Havertz got booked. Yellow's reset at the quarters, do they? I thought it was in the semis.
It's the semis because that's when John Terry got and Ivanovic got booked, suspended originally when Chelsea won the Champions League. It's resets at the first semi-final leg.
Exactly, because if it got reset at the quarterfinals, you could still be suspended in the final, and that's the whole thing that they wanted to avoid. Because do you need 3 or 2 to get suspended? 3,
isn't it?
I think it's 2. Well, I think it's 3 coming up to. No, I think it is 2. I'm not too sure. I know it's 2 after the semi-finals. I know it's 2 after semi-finals because you get booked in both legs, then you get suspended for the final.
Really? I don't think. I thought you can't be suspended for the final anymore unless you get a straight red, or obviously 2 yellow cards in the same game.
No, it was Ivanovic. I remember because he got booked in the first.
No, I know, but they changed the rules since. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not too
because
sure,
for that reason, because that final again between Chelsea and Bayern was obviously so ridiculous that both teams had 3 or 4 players suspended.
Maybe have a look.
Alaba was suspended for that yellow card. for that dodgy handball where he basically slipped, fell on the ball, and yeah, it was a clear pen, but it should have never been booked for it. Obviously, I'll take it for Chelsea's perspective, but at the end of the day, should have never been booked for that, in my opinion. It's way too harsh. As much as the rules might say book him for the ref, come on, use your brain. Obviously, Terry was suspended, but he got a red, so that's different. But Ivanovic had obviously the second booking. Regardless, it will be interesting. And Porto, obviously, like Melinda said earlier, it would be a sick away that it really would. A bit of Portugal trip in April. See, I will tell you a little story here now, guys. Obviously, I don't know how many games you've been to, Matt, especially in Europe. I've been to a lot of games. I say a lot, quite a few games in Europe with Chelsea in the past. I've been to Rome when we lost 3-0. I've been to Barcelona when we lost 3-0. I did a few lovely Europa League games. I went to Budapest, we played Vidi. I went to Prague. I went to Frankfurt. Sick Frankfurt, honestly. Best thing I've experienced in my life. And I also went to Amsterdam. So I've also seen a win in the Champions League. So, I'm not a totally bad omen. But I won't lie, the day of the draw, I'm always sat here. It kind of stresses me out because okay, when did the tickets go on sale? Because you don't really want to book a flight before you get a ticket. At least I don't. So I'm super stressed. Like, when do I book a flight? When do I book accommodation? When do I get the ticket? I'm super stressed. So actually, I'm not totally upset by the fact that I don't have to stress about this right now. But let's talk about the other draws. Let me see if I can get a picture somewhere that I can actually put on screen, because that makes things a bit easier.
I think if you go on the UEFA website, they've just updated it.
Yeah, exactly. What do we make of the other draws? Let's look about the other side first. Let's look about on the other side first. Man City, Dortmund will be an interesting one, because obviously it's not just us that has been rumoured to be interested in Erling Haaland. It's also been Manchester City. I still don't know, or I'm still not fully convinced, shall we say, whether how do I want to word this? Whether Pep Guardiola actually wants a striker like Erling Haaland. Do you know what I mean? I know he obviously loves a goal scorer. That's what Aguero is. But in terms of, he didn't get on with Ibrahimovic now, did he?
Yeah, he didn't get on, yeah.
So I'm not even sure whether Pep actually wants him. But hey, if he batters them, or even if they lose, but Haaland scores 3 goals over the 2 legs anyway, it could be interesting. How do you see that game going, other than obviously us predicting Man City to win? But how do you see that game going, Alex?
Well, I think City will win, and I think Haaland will get an extended tour of the Etihad Stadium if Dortmund are allowed to play there after City beat them, and they'll try and persuade them to come still. But yeah, no, I think City will beat Dortmund here. If Dortmund had a long-term coaching, I reckon they could have pulled up an upset, but they're way too inconsistent in the Bundesliga at the moment. And even they were lucky to go through against Sevilla in the end. They conceded 2 in both legs. And even though I've touched on City can be quite promiscuous in the Champions League, that they can be a little inconsistent, they can have things fall apart a little bit. I still back them over Dortmund in this tie, and I think City will go through on this one.
Exactly. I don't know why UEFA decided to put an Instagram-shaped picture on Twitter as well, because that just looks shit, covering half our faces right now. But just quickly, Bayern Munich, PSG. That will be interesting. Obviously, PSG is a big name. They've got big-name players. Mbappe, Neymar, Marquinhos, to name a few. Keylor Navas with an unbelievable performance against Barcelona, particularly in the second leg. As much as the rest of the team were kind of dreadful, Navas had a blinding game. And also the question is Neymar fit? Because, I mean, Neymar is close to injured as much as bloody Eden Hazard is. Always bloody injured, especially around his sister's birthday. Bit dodgy, but what do we make of that one? Let me go with you first, Matt. What do you make of that one before I actually get your thoughts on the Man City Dortmund as well? What do you think? Bayern, PSG?
I think, most people go on paper, it's got to be Bayern. But, at the same time, it is a game, it's over 2 legs, and actually that might work in their favour. But, they at one point, was it a couple of weeks ago when they're playing Dortmund, Dortmund seemed like they were all over them for part of the game. So I think it's the first half, wasn't it? Haaland scored, was it 2 goals? Like in quick succession. So, they are vulnerable in defence, as you talked about earlier. And, they've got the likes of Mbappe and Neymar potentially if he comes back. So it's it's all to play for, but I can't really see PSG pulling through, considering their form at the moment. So I'm just gonna have to go Bayern.
Yeah, I think you have to as well. And as to Alex Wilson, are you the Alex Wilson? Like the Alex Wilson that I know? If so, big up yourself. Hope you're well. I don't know 100%, but I presume how the draws usually go. The team that's drawn first is the home team in the first leg, meaning will be the home team in the second leg, which is probably a slight advantage, I guess. But is it now without fans? I'm not 100% sure, because you could argue it puts you at a disadvantage because in the decisive game, you're at a disadvantage in terms of away goals rule. I'm not 100% sure. Hey, it is what it is. We can't change it now anyways, but, we'll play in Portugal first and then at Stamford Bridge second time round. Hey, who knows? Maybe we'll play at a neutral venue at one of these games as well. Like, we'll have to wait and see what happens by then. But, Matt, did you touch on Man City Dortmund as well? Do you want to give us your thoughts on that quickly too?
Yeah, well, as I said with Dortmund, they had a very good chance of beating Bayern at one point. They've, when you've got Harden in your team, anyone's going to be scared to play against them. Goals aren't really something they're going to be struggling with, considering their attack. It's just a case of whether they can actually, solidify their defense. And it's a cup game. We've seen teams which is some of the which are considered the underdogs come out and pull out these like mad performances, like Chelsea at the moment. Last year our defense was a bit of a shambles, and now we've had this massive resurgence. People like Rudiger, like a completely different player at the moment. So it might be just that kind of the pressure that sort of pushes them in the other way rather than kind of scares them. So can't really rule them out still.
That's a fair point. It's a fair point. And I guess lastly, should we talk about Real Madrid against Liverpool? That is a very interesting game to me. Both not in particularly great form. Liverpool obviously currently way outside the top 4 in the Premier League. Real Madrid, I'm pretty sure, 4th. Obviously not getting the best results recently. And even when they do win, it's close, tight wins that aren't exactly convincing. Like we touched on earlier already, it's kind of like a thing of hope that, Benzema digs them out of the mud, really. That's all over for. Yeah, they're third, 6 points of Atletico and 2 points of Barcelona. So they're not miles off, to be fair. But still, in terms of goal difference, they have the worst of the 3, scored the least goals of the 3, and only conceded 1 less than Barcelona, who I would have said this season have a dreadful defense. So it's an interesting one, Liverpool, Real Madrid. Obviously, again, like I touched on earlier, it will be not a few weeks' time until those games take place. So form might change, in particular for Liverpool. I don't know which of their injuries might come back by then. I'm not 100% sure on, the length of some of these injuries, in particular, someone like Jordan Henderson. But that's going to be a really interesting game, a game that I'm really looking forward to. But how do you see that going, Alex? Obviously, we said that we'll probably... Well, actually, did we even say, who do we think will go through there? Because I'm not sure.
Yeah, I was just thinking it myself. What's interesting about this tie is that both teams are going to rely purely on experience over form, because both are in... Real Madrid are in better form by a mile than Liverpool, but they're still not top form, and Real Madrid are quite far off the La Liga title. But they've both obviously been there and done it all before, these sets of players. So they're probably going to be relying on that. And to call for an outright one, I think Liverpool will actually beat Madrid. After watching Madrid against Atalanta twice, they were vulnerable for large parts of the game, especially in the second leg, actually. For most of the first half, they were barely getting near Atalanta's box, and Atalanta were dominating the ball, beating them to every second ball. And I say the same thing about Real Madrid every time I talk about them, is that they're vulnerable when the team doesn't respect their reputation. If you go to Real Madrid and you park the bus and give their talent all of the ball, they are going to exploit it. But if you're an Ajax, if you are a City or someone like that, and you go to the team and go, you know what, we're going to play our own game and we're confident we're going to win, that's when Real Madrid are caught cold, especially with a team that's quite aging. That you think of Kroos and Modric. I
know Kroos is only 31. I think maybe 32. But Modric is 34. I think so. He's definitely.
Yeah, Modric 34 going on 35, and it shows though they are both quite slow in midfield, and without Casemiro they're quite vulnerable, and that's what happened the second leg. So I think Liverpool will go through against this. And just a quick one of Bayern and PSG. I want to echo the sentiments of Matt. I think Bayern will go through against PSG. I'm going to keep quickly as well. The long-term prediction for PSG is they go out this quarterfinals and they win the Champions League within the next year or the year after. That's my thing for them. But they're going out against Bayern.
I think for PSG, it largely depends on what they do in the transfer window. I just think their squad is so top heavy. They've got Navas, who's good on his day. They've got Marquinhos. But other than that, personally, I think the defense is dreadful. I mean, Kimpembe is a good player. But, I think overrated by some. And I think they don't have a good midfielder, personally. Like, Verratti is decent. But they don't have an actually good midfielder, in my opinion. I mean,
that's controversial.
No. I mean, Herrera is a Manchester United reject. Idrissa Gueye was all right at Everton. Do you know what I mean? Like, all right. Bloody Paredes came from bloody St. Petersburg, and we decided he wasn't good enough for us. Draxler, I mean, he's played less games than, I don't know, in the last 5 years than Mason Mount this season because he's played so inconsistently. And then who else do they have? Obviously, Verratti, yeah, he's the only one I give credit for, but
Marquinhos, when he steps into midfield, it's probably one of the best midfield DMs in the world.
Who?
Marquinhos, when he steps into midfield.
100%, but since Thiago Silva has left, he barely does that because they don't have the centre-backs anymore to play Marquinhos in TDM.
Now, when they play back three, he can sit in the middle of the back three and then pushes up in midfield. Also, I think you are underrating Verratti. He hasn't done it in the Champions League very much, I agree, because sometimes he's been injured, but he's genuinely world-class. And Idrissa Gueye, he's a bit like a lower grade Kante. He doesn't do much in the final third, but it's very hard to get past him, like in defence. The amount of tackles and interceptions he puts up a game. So I think you're underestimating PSG's players there a little.
Obviously,
bit.
when I say they're poor, I'm not saying they're like, I don't know, bloody Burnley level. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Burnley. But I'm saying they're not Champions League winners level, and I think the reason they were there is Tuchel, not their defence and midfield, if that makes sense. Plus, obviously, a lot of reliance on Mbappe, Neymar, and hey, even when those two are kind of like taken out of the game, you still have bloody Di Maria, who's an extremely experienced player who's been man of the match in the Champions League final before. So, can never discredit Di Maria too much. But for me, I think what you said on Real Madrid, I think part of it is, firstly, like you said, do you give the respect to Madrid? But I think Madrid are so entitled as a team, as a club. For Madrid, it makes a big difference. If they play a team that's not that big of a name, they don't turn up. That's why I think they struggled so much against Atalanta. That's why they were knocked out by Ajax. When they turn up against a big team, they're like, Ajax, this is what we're made for. This is Champions League big game here. Then they turn up. Because you said it with Atalanta and Ajax, and that's a totally fair point. But I don't think they gave them enough respect, and I think that's a problem. I mean, even this season, they beat Atletico first time round. They drew against them second time round, even when Atletico were like 15 points clear of them in the league. And I think they beat Barcelona as well, or was that a draw when they've played once in the Clásico? I don't remember. But in the big games, Madrid have turned up this season, while Barcelona do the opposite. I know it's bottling in the big games, other than the second leg of the Cup semi-final against Sevilla when they turned it around. But other than that, Barcelona have bottled it in every big game this season, if anything. So, yeah, Madrid is a weird one. Again, you say Liverpool will beat them. I might tend to agree. Depends on injuries at the time, obviously. What do you think, Matt, about that one? Liverpool, Madrid? Who do you reckon will go through there?
It all depends whether if Liverpool can put their league form aside, like they did against Leipzig, although you could argue, especially in the first leg, Liverpool went through purely just because of those two pretty bad mistakes from Leipzig. But
yeah, 100%. No, I see what you're saying. I mean, AV in the comment section seems very convinced by Dortmund beating Manchester City and then playing Bayern in the semi-finals. It's an interesting call to be made, especially after Dortmund kind of struggled their way past Sevilla. In the first leg, they were very convincing, but in the second leg, they kind of they were very much so on the edge in the last minute. And yes, they've got Haaland. Yes, they've got Sancho. Yes, they've got Royce if he turns up and isn't injured. Sure, and they've got Gio Reyna, who's a brilliant player, and they've got what's his name, Guerrero, obviously the left wing back / left back / left mid, whatever you want to call him. Yes, but they also have a manager. I don't know where Edin Terzic came from, but when he was appointed, I thought he was an interim manager. I thought they were just okay with sacked Favre, and now we're just putting this guy in for the next, I don't know, a bit like when Everton had like Duncan Ferguson in for like 2 games before Ancelotti took over. I thought that's what was happening with his Edin Terzic dude. Was he the academy manager before? Where was he? Do you know?
Assistant manager to Lucien Favre.
I mean, usually I would take the piss out of that, but that's what won us the Champions League, so I can't. Because usually I have the opinion, because like if you were the assistant, don't you have similar opinions? So how will that change anything? Because otherwise, why are you the assistant? But hey, again, I don't think they have the experience in combination of squad and manager, plus in midfield and defensive areas, the quality to go past Man City, let alone Bayern Munich in the semi-final, if they even get there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not to take a massive dump on Navy's opinions in the comments, but while you guys are talking, I was just looking at who Dortmund have lost against in this season. They got beaten 3-1 by Lazio on the opening day of the Champions League. They drew 2-2 and then won 3-2 against Sevilla, which is like they basically went through by 1 goal, and that was like borderline game. They've lost to Bayer Leverkusen, Borussia Mönchengladbach, Freiburg, Bayern Munich, Union Berlin, Stuttgart 5-1. So I think Dortmund are way too inconsistent to put a bet on. And Haaland wasn't out for most of these games. He was still playing. It's just the rest of Dortmund's team, their attacking structure and their defense is just not at that level. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying they're a bad team or anything, but in the Champions League, but tournaments usually won by champions, I think Dortmund are the biggest underdogs there.
Is this true? Or are we talking like history here and they played them at some point in 2001 or some shit? Probably not, because City didn't make Europe back then, but you see what I'm saying? I don't know. I don't see Dortmund doing that. I don't see Dortmund doing that. Hey, maybe I'll be proved wrong. And if Dortmund make it to the final and we face them there, then I'm like, oh, hello. That'd be interesting, because if they make it there, then I might have misjudged them and Haaland might just batter us there. But see, I've said this before and I'll say it again. Imagine how good it would be if we could just add Haaland to the AC Penitentiary and then when we sign him, we let him out. Do you know what I mean? Like he goes on bail. Rather than us signing a transfer fee to sign him, he pays us bail to get out, but he has to play for us then. See, I think it works perfectly well. So to be honest, I'd be a fan of playing Haaland, put him in that AC Penitentiary. He's like, oh, these men are good. Couldn't get a sniff against them lot. I'd go for sign for them. But ladies and gentlemen, hey, we've been going for when the games are. I mean, I know between which games, but I don't know the dates actually. I'm not sure whether does anyone know? Do you want to see if you can get them up while I start my outro here, and then you can
absolutely.
Exactly. But ladies and gentlemen, we've been going for an hour and then 5 minutes pretty much. So I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. Thank you for coming along and enjoying us nearly miss the Champions League draw, as I only realised it was already starting when when Man City Dortmund had already been drawn. But we moved. Hey, fair play to UEFA. Them men were done in 20 minutes, and the whole draw took like 5. They started at like quarter past 11 UK time, and by 11:20 they were done with the whole thing. So fair play. At least they got it done quick for once. But I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. Get subscribed if you haven't already. Ideally we hit 9K today, probably not, but ideally we're only like 40 odd away, so might as well get subscribed. That'd be massively appreciated. Road to 10K is happening. Be sure to subscribe if you fancy it. Become a member. There's a join button underneath if you're on desktop, or a link in the description if you're on your phone. But Alex, have you found out the dates?
I have indeed. It's 2.5 weeks away, in the 6th and 7th of April, Tuesday and Wednesday, obviously. So
and then 2 weeks later, second legs.
I think it might be just 1 week later. Yeah, 1 week later, April 13th. Really? Believe so. Or unless they're splitting it up across both legs. But that's
because there's only 4 games in it, so they play one Tuesday, one Wednesday, one Tuesday, one Wednesday.
Maybe. But that's...
no. As in, they play 2 Tuesday, 2 Wednesday, probably. Maybe they'll split it,
Yeah, we'll have to see.
I don't think so, because what I saw yesterday was there was no question which date it will be, so I'm pretty sure it will be like that. 6th and 7th aren't confirmed. Well, what are you talking about? They just got to put it on a random date. Just like, who knows when we play that? That's not how it works, Fly. I'm sorry, bro. It's one day will be Tuesday. Well, obviously not. No. So what Alex didn't mean is that we'll play on 6th or 7th, but we'll play one of the two. it doesn't really matter whether you play the Tuesday or Wednesday, realistically. But yeah, again, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. Please check out Matt in the description. Like I said, he's my graphics guy. Does all the thumbnails, does all the graphics around the place. Check out Alex in the description as well. Check him out on Twitter. Euro Expert, of course. There's a lot of interesting content that you definitely should check out. But yeah, like I said, I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. Appreciate you two for coming on. Chelsea against Porto in the quarterfinal. Chelsea or Porto against Liverpool or Real Madrid in the semi-final. Will be very interesting. Can't wait for it. Chelsea in the quarterfinals in the last 8 of the Champions League for the first time in 7 years. So it's a good time to be alive. Let's hope we can get into the FA Cup semi-final as well on Sunday. But yeah, I'll probably see you tomorrow for a Sheffield United preview. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea. Get subscribed. Be sure to drop a like. And I'll see you next time.